Now we bring the capstone together. You'll review the mapping work, identify the most important risk and evidence gaps, prioritize remediation, and turn the results into a clear executive story that supports decisions, accountability, and audit readiness. This final step connects the full course journey. You've built inventories, mapped regulations, prepared audit evidence, and advanced the capstone. Next, those outputs become gap findings, remediation priorities, residual risk decisions, and an executive-ready conclusion. The capstone review is where mapping becomes management action. Bring together the inventory, risk register, controls, evidence, DPIA findings, vendor review, and incident workflow to test whether the program holds together. Are obligations covered? Do controls match the risks? Is the evidence audit ready? Any remaining gaps should lead to a clear decision: remediate, accept, or escalate. The result is a practical roadmap and an executive summary leaders can use for governance review. Gap analysis is the reality check between what your AI compliance program promises and what it can prove. Look beyond missing controls. Weak documentation, unclear owners, incomplete system inventories, poor monitoring, vendor blind spots, and unresolved privacy risks all create exposure. For each gap, ask how likely it is, how serious the impact could be, how urgent remediation is, and which regulation may be triggered. Then capture the answer in a gap log tied to risks and controls. Not every control gap means the same thing. A missing control means a safeguard is not in place, such as absent model monitoring. A design gap means the control exists, but is too weak or incomplete, like shallow access reviews. An operating gap means the control fails in practice, such as no reliable rollback. For each gap, connect the risk to an owner, a control objective, and evidence that remediation works. A control is only as strong as the proof behind it. During review, ask two questions. Does the evidence show the control is designed correctly? And does it show the control actually operated? Then test the evidence itself. Is it complete, current, traceable to the requirement, approved by the right owner, and reproducible? Weak evidence points to remediation, such as collecting missing logs, approvals, screenshots, policies, test results, or vendor attestations before audit-critical controls are challenged. Governance breaks down when the AI system is known, but its dependencies and decisions are not owned. The capstone review should trace each model, dataset, API, vendor, business process, control, risk, and evidence item back to a named owner. Anything orphaned is a governance gap. Use RACI to remove ambiguity. Who does the work, who is accountable, who must be consulted, and who needs to be informed. Effective AI monitoring starts with knowing which events matter, who accessed the model, what data was used, what inferences were made, and which administrative changes occurred. Those signals need complete logging, detection rules, drift monitoring, and SIEM integration. Common gaps include partial logs, missing alerts, and slow triage. In regulated environments, monitoring is not just security plumbing. It also creates evidence for HIPAA, GDPR, and NIST-aligned response and audit expectations. Consider a healthcare AI vendor sending PHI and EU patient data to a cloud model API. The risk is not just technical. It is also contractual and regulatory. Missing a HIPAA business associate agreement, a GDPR data processing agreement, valid transfer safeguards, or deletion assurances can break compliance obligations. Each gap should be tested against the vendor contract, privacy requirements, and operating controls, then recorded in the risk register with clear remediation ownership. Once gaps are identified, the question becomes sequencing. A risk-based model keeps that decision transparent. High-severity, low-effort issues deserve immediate action because delay creates unnecessary exposure. Low-effort, lower-risk items become quick wins. High-risk items that require major engineering, vendor, or policy work should be planned as projects with owners and timelines. Lower risk, high-effort gaps may be monitored or accepted, but only with documented rationale. This turns remediation from opinion into defensible resource allocation. A remediation roadmap turns findings into managed work. Start with the highest risk gaps, Then define actions that fix the root cause, not just the symptom. Every item needs an accountable owner, supporting teams, dependencies, and a realistic timeline. As work moves through each phase, closure should depend on clear acceptance criteria and evidence, such as updated controls, test results, or approvals. That way, remediation becomes measurable progress toward audit-ready compliance. Closure is not the same as completing a task. A team may update a policy, install a tool, or contact a vendor, but the real question is whether the original gap has been corrected. Define acceptance criteria before work begins, then validate against evidence. That might include test results, logs, approvals, updated contracts, or proof that a control is operating. Finally, reassess residual risk. If meaningful risk remains, the item is not truly closed. After controls are applied, some risk may remain. The key is to make that residual risk explicit. First, ask whether further remediation is feasible. If it is, fix it and record the result. If not, document the residual risk, the business rationale, and whether it is being accepted, compensated for, transferred, or escalated. Approval must come from the right stakeholders, and acceptance is never permanent. Incidents, model changes, or new regulations should trigger review. The executive summary is where detailed compliance work becomes leadership action. Keep it focused on scope, readiness, top risks, priority gaps, resources, and approvals needed. Use plain language and clear accountability so executives can decide what to fund, accept, approve, or escalate next. You now have a reusable compliance package, a gap log that shows what is missing, a prioritized roadmap that turns findings into action, a residual risk register for transparent approvals, a validation plan to prove fixes work, and an executive summary that supports decisions. Next, adapt these artifacts to your own AI systems, keep them current, and use them to move from compliance mapping to accountable AI governance.